Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's go. Come on.
Tiger Rag Radio is on the air.
Let's crank this thing up.
We're statewide, breaking down the latest happenings with LSU athletics.
This is us.
Hear from the coaches.
Put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC.
The players.
Having fun and we working, baby. That's it, baby.
The recruits.
Show some passion and some heart.
And those who cover the Fighting Tigers of LSU and the
All
SEC.
those things are going to be there, which are important.
It's 2 hours of nonstop LSU
What
talk.
a privilege. I mean, you get to represent LSU.
Tiger Rag Radio is brought to you by Cummins. Cummins creates power solutions that the world depends on. Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Sunshine Quality Solutions. Super Chevy Dealers. And Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. Get ready to talk Tigers with producer Andre Champagne and our hosts Todd Horne, Jeff Palermo, and Glenn Guilbeau.
Three great players that are better people than they are players.
This is Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
Jeff Palermo along with Todd Horne and Glenn Guilbeau, a false start or a legal procedure or something to start off the show. This is Tiger Rag Radio. How's everyone doing tonight? Glad you can join us on what should be a really entertaining show. Coming up a little bit later on, Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com. We'll also hear from former LSU Tiger Breiden Fehoko, and we got somebody on as well to preview Saturday's game against South Carolina. But tonight we'll start off with what's really been the news of the day, really since last Friday, when Kairen Lacy's lawyer, went on Homa TV, HTV Channel 10 in Homa, Louisiana, and did a very long interview, about 44 minutes long, and it was a very compelling interview. And Matthew Orey laid out the evidence that he had that suggested that Kyren Lacy was not at fault for that fatal wreck that occurred in Lafourche Parish that claimed the life of 78-year-old Herman Hall. And we all know that Kyren Lacy was facing criminal charges at the time of when he took his life last April. And in fact, his case was set to go before a grand jury in a few days before he took his life in Houston. He was arrested in January. The charges were announced. It certainly made things difficult for him as he was getting ready for the NFL draft. Everybody certainly had an opinion on what was going on. And Matthew Orey basically said, hey, he presented some evidence that showed that whatever actions, whatever reckless driving that, and Matthew Orey does not dispute that Kyren Lacy was driving recklessly before the wreck. He does say that, he passed 4 cars in a no passing lane, but yet those actions are not the reason why one vehicle slammed into another, killing Herman Hall. And a lot of people took this as basically the truth, the lone truth of it all, and then state police put out its version or its evidence to support the charges that they handed down against Kyren Lacy. Now, that's kind of where we're at today. Is there any other thing?
There's basically no way that in 5 minutes or less you're
that
going
I
to
can sum this all up. I can be talking for this about 2 hours to try to sum this all up.
It's very complicated.
It's a very complicated case.
Yeah, and the way I would say is there's still a lot more that's going to come out. I would just add that to what you said.
Okay.
Orey did not present his whole case. He says he presented what he could within a time frame to make his biggest points. He also said that when he saw the state police video that came out today, that he saw no new evidence in it, nothing that surprised him. And he said all this just in the last hour on Matt Moscona's after further review interview that he did with him and Kyren Lacy's father, Kenny Lacy. I would say that in my attempt to summarize it is, to me, everything that we would talk about in both videos, and they're similar videos, they're just from different angles, and the state police one is apparently not synced well with the audio, which they disclaim in the very beginning. But is that the question is, There's no question that Kairen Lacy was driving fast and passing, like you said, 4 different cars in a no passing lane. But the big issue is, did he cause the accident? Did his driving cause the accident, or did he not? And according to the state police, it did. According to the attorney general, not the attorney general, the district attorney's office, it did not.
Well,
that
was their conclusion.
Well,
that was the district attorney's office conclusion.
I spoke with someone within the Lafourche Parish District Attorney, and they were presenting this case to the grand jury, and they were going to leave it up to the grand jury to determine whether to pursue charges. That Matthew Ory is twisting the truth there a little bit.
The only and I heard you say that earlier, and I'm not disputing that, because there's so much.
And that's what every district attorney's office does.
There is a document from the district attorney.
There
is a document that Ory presented that is on district attorney letterhead that says they were not recommending.
They were not recommending the point that I think that he made, that Ory stated that Ory cited a report from the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office, which did its own investigation, which is true, which Ory said concluded with the DA saying Lacy did not know his actions were the cause of the crash that happened about 72 yards in front of him. That
doesn't mean that didn't cause it.
Exactly. And that's what Ory said. But Ory.
So here's what I have as a quote. The DA's report explicitly states the evidence submitted in the crash report does not support that Kyren Lacy should have known that his actions were the cause of the crash that happened approximately 72 yards in front. So that's talking about him leaving the scene.
That's all it's addressing. It's not addressing it's not saying it the way Matthew Ory framed it. And this is the thing. Matthew Ory is a very good criminal defense attorney. He really gave a great, compelling case during that interview on H10 TV. But it's not 100% the truth. And people took that on Friday when when they saw it over the weekend, they took that as the truth.
Okay. And I get that, and that's a very good point. It's a very emotional case.
They also took the original state police report as the truth as well.
Right.
Back in January.
No, you're right about that, Glenn. This kid has been prosecuted and then exonerated and this and that. But
I don't know who to believe. I've seen both videos. I really don't know which one.
Again, I'm going to say what I said earlier. There's apparently still a lot of stuff we don't know.
Yeah, each video, the one that Ory showed and the one that the police show, you don't really see the wreck. You just see right up before it. So it's inconclusive video.
And there are other witnesses, some of which were never even interviewed, like the passenger in Kyren Lacy's car, who happened to be his brother.
Right. And the witnesses who were interviewed may have been concerned that they were going to be blamed for the accident. So they pointed the finger to someone else. And the one of the witnesses said that it was the woman behind him, who was eating Funyuns and listening to music and didn't hit her brakes until the last second. But she saw the Charger go away, and so she said it was the Charger, maybe because she didn't want to be charged.
Well, she was also supposedly, according to Ory, and we might as well go through this, she was tailgating.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And saying,
hold on. She was ticketed for tailgating, and Ory said that ticket was taken away. But what Ory did not tell you was she was reticketed for a lesser charge, which was getting out of her lane. So Ory didn't say the complete truth when he spoke. But he was being an attorney.
But I do think it's important to point out that the gentleman driving the yellow truck in front of the lady who did impact the accident that was involved in the accident, she said he hit his brakes. The witness in the Astros shirt driving the 18-wheeler said he hit his brakes in the yellow truck, and they have the black boxes on the cars that show that he never hit his brakes.
Here's my feeling on all this,
and a police report that says he hit his brakes, which he says that's not what he said.
I think this would have been a very difficult case because obviously to get a conviction, this would have been a very difficult case to get a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. There are so many questions. There's a lot of analysis in all of this, and who's traveling, this and that. What really bothers me the most about all of this is that after it started making the rounds on social media, the word that was being used a lot,
Cleared.
and Kairen Lacy was being railroaded by state police.
Right. And part of that's because of the history of the state
And
police.
I agree with that. The
But
state police has made its own bed.
But the major part of that, Jeff and Todd, was that interview in Ori's video on Homa TV that had the state trooper kind of guiding the witness. Well, make sure you put that green Charger down. I think that really turned a lot of people.
That's a body cam footage recording
Right.
of him doing it.
Right. But the evidence that was presented today, I don't know how you can look at that evidence that state police said and say that the charges were not warranted.
I think that's the question, though.
I don't know either way.
I don't either.
I'm
And
not,
that's-
that,
But I don't know
that
if
video didn't sell me.
But is it possible that his action? Is it possible that his actions caused that wreck? Yes, it is possible.
It is possible.
But it's not confirmed.
Right.
But there were so many.
You don't see it.
But there are so many people that just felt like that this was
conclusive. I get it.
state police, and they're throwing and they're saying they're only going after him because he's an athlete, because he's black, because he's young, and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And and that to me, you got to hear both sides.
But just because that was wrong doesn't mean that he was the cause of the accident.
I agree with that.
So
But
He was definitely recklessly driving.
No question.
And passing in the passing zone.
So he should have
But
got-
even with that, I don't know if he should have been charged with negligent homicide because I can't
Let a
tell
grand
from
jury
the video.
decide that.
Yeah, because you can't tell from the video that he caused the wreck.
That's the whole question. Did he cause the wreck?
But I don't think state police was egregious with their investigation. And there are people, including a famous former LSU alumnus, that does make it that way. Ryan
If they
Clark.
falsified the gentleman driving the yellow truck's police report,
And it sure looked like they were doing that on the video, whether it was a body cam or not. The video I saw, it looked like that state trooper is directing the witness to say this when the witness said something else.
But you also see the video evidence today.
but you also see that video evidence from the state police that starts at the very beginning by saying this is an inaccurate description in a lot of cases, and it's mainly because the audio and the video
State
are out
police
of
might
sync.
not have been trying to frame Kyren Lacy. They might just be incompetent.
Well, it's quite possible. But I just think some of this is gone.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I hate the music.
Yeah.
At least the AG is going to do an independent investigation and hopefully be an arbitrator in this.
I think so, but I thought Liz Murrell's comments were pretty interesting.
Confusing as well. Right?
Well,
And contradictory. She went both ways.
like a good politician, right?
You talking about the police report?
No, I'm talking about Liz Murrell's comments.
All right, let's take a break. More of Tiger Rag Radio when we come back.
Chevy trucks have you covered when the road takes you from smooth sailing to Chevy Colorado will eat up some of the toughest terrains with 5 available drive modes. And Silverado and Silverado HD have the muscle to take you out for some serious with multiple engine options and impressive towing. While Silverado EV is the perfect combo of performance and capability, making it a snap to hitch up this electric truck and hit the road. Wherever the road leads, Chevy trucks are right there with you. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
Tiger Rag Radio. The details do matter. Every step, every hand on the ground, every route, everything that we do has a purpose. We are really focused, and our attention to detail is going to be unmatched.
All right, back here on Tiger Rag Radio, Jeff Palermo along with the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and the editor, Glenn Guilbeau, to wrap up here on the Kairen Lacy story. And first of all, thoughts and prayers still go out to the Herman Hall family. I can't imagine what this is like to see this thing.
Have to relive
it all of a sudden get drugged up again. And I understand what Matthew Ory is trying to do. He said at Kyren Lacy's funeral that he would fight for the truth, but I also feel like Matthew Ory understands he has now become one of the most popular, or at least one of the most well-known attorneys in the state. So he's got that. And then I can understand why state police did what they did, just because they've been accused of railroading someone. And I think they felt like they needed to get their story out. And I don't think you're going to hear much more from state police, but I think you will hear more from the Attorney General's office. And we mentioned this right at the end of the segment that the Attorney General Liz Muriel put out a statement, and here it is. The evidence is not disputed here. The Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office was prepared to present the case to a grand jury that showed Kairen Lacy returning to his lane. However, that does not absolve Kairen Lacy of responsibility in this matter. Every witness identified the green Charger Kairen Lacy was determined to be driving as having put the events in motion that led to the head-on collision, which killed 78-year-old veteran Herman Hall. The district attorney appropriately was bringing the matter to a grand jury so that the grand jury could review the facts and decide the appropriate charges to indict on, if any. I'm continuing to review the entire file from state police and will release a more detailed statement at the conclusion of that review. So we'll find out if from the Attorney General's office, whether or not she feels that state police manipulated the police report in order to target Kairen Lacy in this case.
Or just bring it to an expeditious close.
Yeah. So it's a sad situation all the way around. It's a horrible situation all the way around. And I don't know. It's really rough to see what has occurred here. But
I think the lesson that we should all learn from this as human beings is not to jump to conclusions.
I think that's exactly right. And thanks for putting the words in my mouth. I think that's what really it's almost like, like you watch the Saints-Giants game on Sunday, right? And the Giants are dominating in the first quarter.
Is it okay to admit that you did that?
I was actually listening to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so then you make the conclusion, oh, the Giants are the better team. Well, you got to I think what Brian Kelly said yesterday was actually really good. You got to let all the facts come out. And if Kairen Lacy did cause this accident, it doesn't make him any less of a person. Everybody still, all his teammates love him and they'll never forget him. And he did a lot of great things on the football field and he was a great teammate and all that. But let's let the facts come out. And there were as Glenn said, there was a lot of people to quickly put Kairen Lacy back in January when he was arrested, and a lot of people convicted him at that point. And then it was amazing how it was a 180 this time around when Matthew Ory came out and everybody wanted to exonerate him and everybody wanted to point the finger at state police that they were doing something
that they've done before.
Yeah.
Well, listen to Liz Merrill's comment that you just said.
Okay.
Every witness identified the green Charger Kairen Lacy that was driven by Kairen Lacy was determined to be driving as having put the events in motion that led to the head-on collision. That's what she says in the first paragraph. But in the second paragraph, she says the DA appropriately was bringing the matter to a grand jury so that grand jury could review the facts and decide the appropriate charges to indict on, if any. So she's saying that he probably should be indicted, and then she's saying, if any. So she doesn't know either.
Well, that's the purpose of a grand jury, to determine is there.
She doesn't know who to believe either, as do I.
And she's only been investigating it for approximately 6 hours or so.
Well, she's probably kept up with it too. So it's very confusing. Yeah, both videos are inconclusive. And it's hard to tell.
And that's why I think if it ever did get to a trial, I don't know if you can get a conviction on all three of those charges.
Right.
You might be able to get reckless driving because you honestly...
Definitely reckless driving.
And you may be able to get that, but I don't know if you get the negligent homicide charge.
Yeah, I don't think...
I think it would be tough because the vehicle... I think there's questions that should be asked about the vehicle that actually ended up hitting Herman Hall's... The vehicle that Herman Hall was riding. What was that driver doing at the time?
The one charged with tailgating.
Yes. I think there needs to be more, but... We'll see. I know Matt Diori is going to continue to bring more evidence, but I don't know. I would love to hear if Herman Hall's family would just wish this would go away from the public eye.
I think it is going to go away, because if they do find that Kairen Lacy was guilty, which I don't, of negligent homicide, which I don't think they will, but if they did somehow find that, I don't think that they would announce that.
No. Well, there's the criminal charge. It's done. The case is done.
Exactly.
But if Matt Diori is going to continue to keep trying to drum up evidence to show,
yeah,
I
think Matthew Ori needs to move on.
There's also the practical point that if the state police did do something wrong,
right,
there's huge civil reward here.
That's true.
It's true. Well, we'll see. Let's get to some football talk. Mike Scarborough from Tiger Bait, he will join us when we come back on Tiger Rag Radio. Also looking forward to our interview with Breiden Fehoko coming up at the hour at the top of hour number 2. That should be very interesting. He had some very interesting comments about this 2025 Tigers team, and Mike Scarborough's got an interesting theory when it comes to Garrett Nussmeier. So we'll get into that when we come back here on Tiger Rag Radio.
The hot summer months are in the year view mirror. Let's enjoy fall and have a fun time doing it with your East Baton Rouge Parish Library. The 12th annual Baton Rouge Maker Fair will feature movie magic on October 18th. And go back in time with the library on October 25th with Talking About a Revolution, an all-day patriotic event. Have fun with all of the library's silly, spooky programs for adults, teens, and kids. Visit ebrpl.com for more details.
And we're back with Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
All right, we got a few minutes with our first guest tonight. That's Mike Scarborough from Tiger Bait, Jeff Palermo along with Todd Horne, Guilbeau. This is Tiger Rag Radio. Mike, thanks a lot for spending some time with us today. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just it's crazy. Football player interviews and women's basketball event here. I'm in the side room, and it's then we got baseball on Thursday. Don't they realize it's football season over here?
It's crazy.
Well, Mike, since we only have a couple minutes with you, let's just jump right in. Is Garrett Nussmeier hurt, or is he just regressed from last year because he was lazy off season?
Look, I'm not going to question about whether he was ever hurt. I just know from my sources, and I feel like I nailed it down. I mean, it's not just 2 sources; it's like 5. But he's been 100% for weeks. Now, whether that was 4 weeks, 5 weeks, he was absolutely 100% healthy in the Southeastern game, and he has not re-injured or aggravated that injury. So I know some people say, well, then why wasn't he practicing last week? Well, they didn't have a full week of practice last week. There was only a few practices, and it was absolutely a very light week, and it gave them an opportunity to give Van Buren some reps with the one. So,
okay, Mike, good point. Your sources have always been good. Why do you think he's still throwing frequently inaccurate, and his ball seems to flutter if he is healthy?
And he's underthrown 2 touchdown passes at least.
Well, that might have been earlier, but go ahead.
Yep, I think sometimes it's it could be a lot of Hankton, his groupings of his wide receiver substitutions. You certainly throw a ball different to Trey'Dez Green than you do Aaron Anderson and Xavion Thomas.
That's a great point.
I think that's been a big part of it, and I've been a little bit of a bone of contention. The fact that he's wanting to get the ball off in 2 seconds because he's nervous about his offensive line.
Understandably so.
It's hard to pinpoint everything. I mean, look, I'll watch him throw a ton. TV timeouts, throwing on the hash marks while the defense is defending a drive.
Yeah, and
it's not like he never has velocity on the ball. There's plenty of tosses where he's got a typical Nussmeier velocity. I think he's choosing at the wrong times when to use it and when not.
Okay.
Going back to what you said as far as whether he put in the work that he needed to in the off season, was it What was he just not getting together with the other receivers? What, as far as what your sources told you, was he just not around the football ops building, or what was it?
Well, I just, look, I don't have a full accurate pie chart of. I just think that that's a question that he has to answer himself and be honest with himself. Did he do everything that Jayden Daniels did in the offseason and Joe Burrow did in the offseason between their junior and senior years? Now, I know he worked with a former LSU track athlete for some conditioning work, but he didn't, and I would be glad to be corrected. But I'm unaware of him going out and working with Jordan Palmer or any of the top quarterback gurus like Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels went to California, spent a considerable amount of time, and flew his wide receivers out there on his dime.
Garrett threw the ball better his first year as a starter than Jayden did. Maybe he was overconfident.
I don't know, but and look, there's been a lot said about the VR stuff. I look, there's some evidence that he didn't put in near the time that those previous quarterbacks did.
Okay. So the question,
and that's why BK brought it up when he did. I think BK's kind of been, without throwing a player under the bus, almost giving you the answers. But the most logical answer that everybody wants to believe is that he's still hurt, because that would explain everything.
That's why BK brought up the torso injury at first. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I bet, in my mind, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I bet he regrets throwing that out there, because I think he's been over that injury for a while.
Okay.
So BK keeps using that as an excuse for Garrett's poor performance.
Well, actually, no, and so that's the other part of it.
BK said he was healthy.
That would benefit him and Joe Sloan for that to absolutely be the case, and for him to say that he's still hurt. Mm-hmm. It would explain everything.
Mike, I know you got to head out here, so we'll ask you this question: do you think we'll see Michael Van Buren get snaps that not garbage time snaps, but real game snaps this week?
Well, if Nussmeier has the same performance that he had against Ole Miss, and you don't see Van Buren this week, what does that tell you about their confidence that he can be the quarterback of this football team for 2026?
Oh, I don't think he is the quarterback for 26.
Right, but that answers the question, and 100% tells you that they've got to go in the portal and fight like crazy and spend a ton of money to get whatever top-flight national quarterback gets in the portal to make 26 go, because that 9-game SEC schedule, opening up with Clemson, you got to believe they're going to be improved. They're not going to tolerate that anymore. Not only does Austin Thomas have to do an incredible job like he did last December, he's got to top it, because he's got to replace everybody he got last year, and he's got to have the marquee quarterback.
Mike, are you willing to make a prediction for the remainder of the year?
I always say I like to change my season prediction in every post game. But yeah, I went from 9-3 to 11-1 after the Clemson, and now I'm in the 9-3, 8-4 realm.
Okay, all right.
They got to win all their home games. They can't lose to A&M. They got to win all their home games. Take care of Vanderbilt, and then
you got to split against Alabama and Oklahoma.
I don't know how they can get to 10-2.
Yeah.
Maybe they can get to. I think they can do 9-3. You just can't get blown out or have an ugly loss in Norman, and then maybe be one of these 9-3 teams that everybody says they're going to make the playoffs.
If they go 8-4 and don't make the playoffs, or if they go 9-3 and don't make the playoffs, I should say, does Joe Sloan come back?
That's a tough call. I would think that would be, just from a perception standpoint, whether BK wants or not. A change would have to be made, just because I don't know how for the perception of the program and that you're moving forward, that to give any excitement to the fans going into next season. It would be like bringing Cam Cameron back for another year. And I'm not saying Joe Sloan's Cam Cameron. I love Joe Sloan, but I mean, look, he's not the only one. Brad Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, BK's forte is offensive line. He hasn't had a good one since he's been here.
Mike, we'll let you go on that. Thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate it.
Okay, talk again soon.
All right, Mike Scarborough of Tiger Bait. Some good stuff from him.
And Kelly didn't hire Brad Davis. That's the amazing thing.
I know.
He kept him.
Yeah, it is. And it just hasn't worked out. All right, well, so we'll react to that. Breiden Fehoko is going to have some interesting comments as well later on. And we'll get you the scouting report on the South Carolina Gamecocks as well. So a lot to get to as we continue on here with Tiger Rag Radio. So stay tuned. Jordan Kaye from the state in Columbia, he's going to join us and talk about South Carolina in hour number 2. So more coming up from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio. This is Tiger Rag Radio. All right, back here on Tiger Rag Radio. Glad you could join us. Jeff Palermo along with Todd Horne, Glenn Guilbeau. Guys, let's talk a little bit more about this LSU South Carolina game. Is this a game where the offense can get it going?
No. They can. The offense can play better than it played against Ole Miss. They certainly have the opportunity to establish more offense, and it can be balanced because they should be able to run the ball. And I think Kelly is committed, even though he's saying they're working more on their passing game. I think he is committed overall to running the ball more balanced.
At least try to run the ball
than
more.
they did against Ole Miss.
Yeah, especially if South Carolina comes out with a 3-man front.
Right, well, and South Carolina is susceptible to the run again. So here,
so is Ole Miss.
But then then you're in a situation where you're going to have 2 new offensive linemen starting more than likely.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's a bad thing. I wrote that last. I think Carius Kern is a better option at right tackle, and
but he won't be at right tackle probably, according to yesterday's Kelly. He'll probably be at guard.
Okay, well he played physical last week, and Cohen Eccles was not a bad replacement for Mabinga, Paul Mabinga, who's got a high ankle sprain at guard. I think they will run the ball better because I think they're going to be committed to it. They're going to try it more.
Caden Durham should be back.
Although I liked Harlem Berry. He looked pretty good at times, and I think Nussmeier is going to be better. Mike brought up a good point, Mike Scarborough, about the receiver rotation. That's something I never thought about. If you're putting in a bunch of different ones, it's a little more difficult for the quarterback to get used to, though he should be used to it. That's why you have off-season practice if he was working with all the guys. But it is better to have the same group in there most of the time. But you got talent there, so you got to mix it in. But I just feel like Nussmeier is going to benefit from this open date, and they're going to get it together a little bit more on offense. And I think the defense, I don't think is going to have much trouble with South Carolina. LaNorris Sellers is a good running quarterback, but I think they're going to be. I think the defense is going to dominate the game.
So Sellers is having a worse season than Nussmeier's having statistically.
Well, he's not really known as a passer like Nussmeier,
but also running. He's not doing nearly what he did last year.
Right, and they've given up. They're one of the worst sack allowing teams in the country. They're like 119th with 15 allowed. LSU's not really bad with sacks as far as sacking the quarterback. They have 11 on the season, and they're like tied for like 12th in the country with 11 sacks. So, it should be a big day for Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks maybe. But I think LSU's going to bounce back this week. And then tough game up in Nashville, man.
Yeah, did you watch any of the Alabama-Vanderbilt game, by the way?
I watched a little bit of it, but Alabama looks a lot better than they did earlier. But I still think Vanderbilt's a tough team.
Yeah,
in
and
Nashville.
I watched most of that game, and that game was a lot closer than the final score.
Yeah,
it was 14-14 in the third quarter. But anyway, let's go back to the South Carolina game. South Carolina's coach in his weekly press conference was asked about Garrett Nussmeier's performance this year, and he said that he looks great.
Really?
He did. He said
at times he has looked
good.
He's
seen him
his numbers are way down.
Film reviews, tape reviews, what have you. He's seen him make passes that nobody else can make.
Well, maybe he's watching him compared to LaNorris Sellers too much.
I know it's smoke. But what did you think about? You made the statement when we were talking with Michael Mike, that you do not think Michael Van Buren is next year's quarterback?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they signed him in the portal as if he was going to be the quarterback in 26. I think that was a stopgap for an experienced backup, and they're going to go back into the portal and try to find a starting quarterback, which they won't be the first team to do that. You know, it'll be their first time doing it.
Since when?
Since ever. Well, Jayden Daniels, I'm sorry, but that was early in the portal time. But yeah, he's the first. Jayden Daniels is the only starter they got from the portal. Now, Joe Burrow was a transfer, but that was a different situation. That was a grad student transfer. Well, that's two pretty good ones right there that you didn't sign out of high school. So if you can get somebody like that, that's pretty good. But, you know, that's the main difference between Brian Kelly and Ed Orgeron and Les Miles. Now, Orgeron and Miles didn't have the portal, but Kelly has not been the recruiter that those two guys have been. Now, he did get Daniels. I know you think he didn't deserve full credit for getting Daniels, but he was the head coach. And you know, obviously he didn't get Burrow, but you know, that's going to be interesting to see who Brian Kelly and staff are able to get as a quarterback in the next portal window, especially with, you know, Joe Sloan being up in the air. But you know, I think the head coach has to be the main guy in recruiting. You know, you don't keep a coach anymore because they can only recruit. You got to keep them because they can coach. So that's going to be key, who they find in the portal to play quarterback.
So do you think that 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, we're going to be sitting right here, whistling a whole different tune about this team? Do you think it's just faith in this team is down right now and they're going to turn it around? Or do you think this is?
Well, I think faith among LSU fans is often teetering. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, I could see LSU going either way. I think they could still. Part of me thinks they could still finish strong because, I mean, you look at the SEC. It's hard to tell who's good. I don't think South Carolina's that good. I don't think Vanderbilt's great. It's a dangerous game. I don't think Texas A&M is great. I think Oklahoma's overrated. That said, LSU could lose 3 games.
I'm going to tell you what I said last week at some point about the Ole Miss game. The most disappointing, disheartening, horrifying thing.
Horrifying?
Yeah, horrifying. I think that's the word I used last week. Is about that Ole Miss game was the way that LSU was physically whipped on both sides of the ball. And if that continues, whether the offense is better or the defense, you know,
and they're not really that physical of a team.
If that continues, they will not have a good finish to this season.
All right, we'll have more of Tiger Rag Radio when we come back from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Good idea. 1-800-673-5555.
I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
Former LSU Tiger Breiden Fehoko will join us coming up in hour number 2 to begin the second hour of the show. So look forward to that conversation with him. The transfer portal window, it's changing. You've probably seen the stories. It's been talked about, but there will now be, based on a vote today or the approval today by the NCAA, there will just be for football one transfer portal window from January 2nd to the 16th. That means no more spring transfer portal window, no more transfer portal window in December, and this is something that Coach Brian Kelly approves. Really, the Big Ten Conference, they always seem to be against everything. They were the ones that opposed it, but is this a good or bad for college football?
Well, I think it's good because it means that they can't leave after spring practice when they don't get enough playing time in their minds in spring practice. So I think it helps stabilize it. It makes it a little bit more of an efficient thing. The only downside to it is that if you're in the playoffs and late in the playoffs, you're at a disadvantage because it's going on while you're in the playoffs.
But it's not like those players I mean, so far it's been in December, and you've been able to get. I mean, those teams that were in the play.
I know. I was just pointing out the one downside.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay, all
but
right.
Still, and that kind of equalizes things because the teams that are doing well, they won't have as much time to jump into the portal because they'll be busy getting their team ready. So that could help the teams not in the playoffs. Then you got like the NFL.
Yeah, kind of like you finish bad in the NFL, you're at the top of the draft.
Exactly. I just thought it was crazy where it was before, where you had
it was.
You not only did you have the end of the regular season, but you were trying to put the finishing touches on your recruiting class and granted, most of these kids now are committing in the summertime and all that, and even right now, LSU's 2026 class, a lot of the hay is already in the barn for it. So it's not like you're crisscrossing the state visiting these kids like you did back in the olden days, leading up to the February National Signing Day. But not only are you doing that, but you're either getting ready for a bowl game, you're getting ready for the college football playoffs. It just seemed like there was so much coming at you and I'm not sitting here playing the smallest violin for guys that are making 7 figures and 6 figures and all that, but it just seemed very overwhelming to see that all this was occurring during that 2-week period.
Yeah.
It was fun for us, right? A lot to talk about. You had the signing period. You had these transfer portals and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't think it was fun. but it is much better to have it in January.
Yeah.
Because even the teams that are in the playoffs and focused on advancing and winning a national championship, they still got enough staff where they can. Yeah. Hey, we're getting ready for the national championship game. You want to come sign with us? You can still do that. And I remember in the early years of the portal, Alabama had a couple of players enter the portal right as the season was ending. They had some injuries in the postseason in the championship game, and they needed some of those guys in the playoffs, and they didn't have them because they were already in the portal.
Has anybody heard if Arkansas had any players enter the transfer portal since Pittman was fired?
I don't know.
I'm just curious because
is it open now? I don't think it's open.
It's open for them right now, or was.
Yeah,
it may have closed.
All right, let's take a break. Breiden Fehoko when we come back here on Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealer Studios.
Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's go. Come on.
Tiger Rag Radio is on the air.
Let's crank this thing up.
We're statewide, breaking down the latest happenings with LSU athletics.
This is us.
Hear from the coaches,
Put together a defense that puts us in a position to win the SEC.
the players,
Having fun and we working, baby. That's it, man.
the recruits,
Show some passion and some heart.
and those who cover the Fighting Tigers of LSU and the
All
SEC.
those things are going to be there, which are important.
It's 2 hours of nonstop LSU
What
talk.
a privilege. You get to represent LSU.
Tiger Rag Radio is brought to you by Cummins. Cummins creates power solutions that the world depends on. Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Sunshine Quality Solutions. Super Chevy Dealers. And Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. Get ready to talk Tigers with producer Andre Champagne and our hosts Todd Horne, Jeff Palermo, and Glenn Guilbeau.
3 great players that are better people than they are players.
This is Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
And we're back for hour number 2 of Tiger Rag Radio. Jeff Palermo, along with the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and the editor, Glenn Guilbeau. Glad he could join us on this Tiger Rag Radio Tuesday night for those that are listening to us live, and those for that might be hearing us on a different day, depending on what station you are listening to. You can always go back to tigerrag.com to listen to previous shows, or follow the Tiger Rag YouTube channel to if you miss our show or you want to catch back up on it. That's a perfect way to do that and listen to podcasts and all that kind of stuff that Tiger Rag produces. Let's bring in our next guest. A big part of that 2019 LSU National Championship team that we remember so fondly. That is defensive tackle Breiden Fehoko joins us here on Tiger Rag Radio. Breiden, thanks a lot for joining us. How you doing tonight?
Man, thank you guys for having us. I'm excited. I'm always bleeding purple and gold proudly. And some of it may be a little more emotionally said than logically, but no, man, I'm great. Thank you guys for having me on the show tonight, man.
Well, Breiden, hey, this is Todd. I want to especially thank you for coming on because last week I was sitting down writing my column, which I was basically criticizing Brian Kelly continuing to make poor decisions every year that costs the team, whether it's special teams his first year, defense his second year, and now offense heading into this year. And then I come across your podcast with a message to LSU football. Can you give us a little insight as to what you were saying in that podcast? I'd rather you do it than me do it.
Yeah, just a quick summary, man. As an alumni and somebody who's bled the purple and gold and poured his blood, sweat, and tears into the program. Man, when I watch LSU, it's almost painful to watch just because of the product I'm seeing. When I see LSU, man, it's hard. I don't see any fight. I don't see a team that wants to go out and dominate people. And don't get me wrong, right? The NIL and everything has the playing field leveled right now more than it ever has been. I get that. But just the thought of LSU and what I said in my video, and I stated that when people see LSU on the schedule now, it isn't like, whoa, guys, we have LSU, let's lock in this week. We got LSU, and that's one of the biggest things that kind of bugs me now, and it bugs other teammates, and I won't go into depth because, those guys wish to keep their opinions private, and definitely so, and we still talk in our group chats from our 2019 season, but those guys are disappointed as well. The product we see Saturdays is just, it's terrible. Sometimes it's unwatchable when you have a premier defense with what Baker's been doing, and then you go on offense and you lay an egg like they have been doing. And I said the signs have been there. They barely put up 20 points against Louisiana Tech. DJ Lagway throws 5 interceptions. They play Florida at home and they only put up 20 points. And you continually see the answers, right? And I'd be a fool to sit here as a head coach and be like, something happens to me the first time, okay, cool. But in the words of the great Mike Tomlin, 2 is a pattern, and it's been happening more than twice, and so that's kind of the biggest message I had was just there's no identity when I watch LSU football. I just don't see no fight. I just see a team that is paid for rather than built up, and that's sad because that's the way the college ranks are nowadays.
Do you think that can be corrected? I mean, like I was just telling Glenn last segment, watching the Ole Miss game, that was the most horrifying thing to me watching the Ole Miss game was the fact that they were beaten on both sides of the line of scrimmage physically most of the game, and that's not an LSU team.
No, it's sad because if you guys remember in 2017, we lost to Troy. That was one of the lowest of the low moments in LSU history. On homecoming night, you're paying a team 1.2 or whatever we paid Troy to come in, and we're paying them to essentially put the beat down on them. And, we lost. And so after that game, I remember Duke Riley, he came to the facility that next week, and it wasn't on no buddy-buddy friendship, big bro stuff. It was a ripping. And I won't go into the explicit words he shared with us, but just know it wasn't suitable for kids and parents to hear what he had told us. But part of that was the culture, right? The coaches didn't need to tell us what was missing. It was passed down by the guys that played before us, and we just knew we didn't want to disappoint them. We knew the product that was being put out on a weekly basis, and we knew what we had to fix. When I watch LSU against Ole Miss, the score seems closer than it is, but if you actually watch the game, Ole Miss dominated for a lot of that game. If Ole Miss doesn't fumble on that receiver with the play, weeks recovered, Ole Miss goes up 2 scores easy coming into halftime, like things like that. You know what I mean? Like they controlled the game, they dominated the game. The defense was out there for too many snaps. Is it something you can fix? No, because these are things you fix in the months of January up until July. You can't fix these things in the season.
So this $18 million spent on this roster this year and this great defense from a NFL talent perspective, because there's probably several NFL players on that defense, is basically going to be wasted this year more than likely.
More than likely, and a lot of people didn't like what I had to say because I said on my video, I said that with LSU's schedule coming up, they play South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas A&M. To me, The only game that is possibly a win is South Carolina this week. Outside of that game, and I hope they prove me wrong, and I hope this gets thrown back at my face, but I don't see LSU making it past 7-8 wins this year, and that's just culture. That's just identity. It's painful to watch, and I sound like a broke record saying it, but when you look at teams like Alabama, new coaching staff, DeBoer, but you just see the talent. They play hard. Like, the identity is still Alabama, right? Don't get me wrong. They lost to a Florida State team in week 1. They went out, dominated Georgia. They went out last week, dominated a 5-0 Vanderbilt team. Like, the identity is still there. It doesn't matter who's coaching. They have playmakers on offense. They play gritty on defense. These are things you expect to see LSU, and especially in year 3 under Brian Kelly. Because year 3 under Ed Orgeron, we went 15-0 and won the national championship.
It's actually year 4 under Brian Kelly.
Yeah, but I think he was talking about.
Oh, I hear you.
Year 4.
Right, I hear
year
you.
4. Sorry. Yeah.
Hey,
sorry about that.
That's all right. We're talking to Breiden Fehoko here on Tiger Rag Radio. Aloha, Breiden. I really enjoyed covering you in the 2019 season. I wanted to ask you, you were released in August by the Steelers. You've had some injury issues. Have you decided to finish your NFL career, or are you going to try again?
Honestly, 6 years in, and I just had this talk with my wife maybe 2 weeks ago. Man, at this point in my career, my body's been beat up. I've had maybe 2 or 3 calls within the last month or so to go out and play with teams and sign with teams. But
yeah,
I think more so physically, my body isn't in the shape it needs to be in to play football right now. And so I wanted just to take a step back and, focus on my family, focus on my health, and just kind of see what I wanted to do. And I told my wife, unless I was 100%, I'd go do it. And right now, just in the state of where I am as a football player, as an athlete, I'm not in that right state. I'm not healthy enough to go out and play. And so I put my focus into the media side and building my brand and trying to grow that part of my game.
Well, from interviewing you got some natural talent for the media business. Where are you guys living now?
I'm in Texas right now, and we stay here. I bought a house here. I have a property here. I have a property in Arizona. Looking to buy one as a rental in Baton Rouge for some college kids, but that's to be determined. Just because I know what my life was like in college, and so don't know if I want to take that risk of having a rental out there in Baton Rouge.
Breiden, if you were a defensive lineman, obviously you are a defensive lineman. Were a defensive lineman. The biggest concern with LSU right now, from an overall standpoint, is that offensive line and is that running game. What do you see as from the perspective of a nose tackle as the biggest problem with LSU's offensive line and their running game?
Man, I just see no physicality. I don't see guys just trying to finish guys after the whistle. And I get it, right? You're not going to break every run that's called for 20 yards and explosive carries, but when I watch LSU, man, I just want to see a team that just like go bury somebody 5 yards down the field after the whistle. If you watch 2019, man, go watch Damian Lewis's tape. Just watch what Damian Lewis was doing. Watch what Adrian McGee was doing against Vanderbilt when guys came on a looping twist and he depleted guys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wow,
that's just that's the mentality that if a play doesn't work out, cool. Like, not every play's going to be perfect, but my goodness, go out and kill somebody. Not literally and figuratively, but go put your will against somebody. This is a grown man's football. You play for LSU. There's a tiger decal on the side of your helmet. Lord forbid you go out there and try to impose your will, because that's what LSU standard's all about. And that's just what I see when I see the O-line. It's too pretty. It's too much
finesse.
Just guys. It's just, man, it's a lot of guys that are afraid to get their hands dirty. And it pains me because Brian Kelly is an offensive line guy. I mean, you look at the offensive line he's been able to produce throughout his years at Notre Dame, like, I'd expect something to click at LSU, but it hasn't, and the product doesn't look good.
Do you think he's responsible for that?
100%. He's responsible for the product that's on the field, whether it's good, whether it's bad. If LSU was sitting here winning, we'd point the finger to Brian Kelly and say Brian Kelly is solely responsible for winning. But when the product is bad and the players aren't performing, the first person we're going to look at is the head coach, the guy who puts the pieces to the puzzle together.
And Breiden, it's amazing because 4 starters from that offensive line last year got drafted into the NFL, and they couldn't run the ball well last year.
Yes, and that what that tells me? That's just talent. That's just guys having the pure skill and will to just be talented. Now, from a coaching perspective, if you're not able to put those pieces together and build the Mona Lisa or build the Picasso, then my goodness, we need to find somebody who can do it, because we did it with lesser talent in 2019, but my goodness, we painted a pretty good Picasso, if you ask me.
So
I would agree.
It's interesting though. I would have not. When I think of the 2019 team, I think of one of the most talented teams in college football history. And you're saying this team, in your opinion, has more talent than you guys had?
No, I think he was saying the offensive line last year may have had more talent than the 19 offensive line.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, Will Campbell was he the third guy off the board this year? Or
Fourth,
yeah. Fourth guy. Miles Frazier got drafted. Who else got? There was 2 other guys I'm missing. Sorry if I botched them. That got drafted from last year's team on the offensive line. But I mean, 100% from a talent perspective, these guys were, light years more talented than what we had in 2019.
Do you have any plans to go back and try and fire up this team?
I'd like to, and I kind of got ridiculed about it. One of my buddies, he's a really close friend of mine. He's an LSU booster. I won't release his name, but he had sent me. Funny enough, he had sent me a forum post on Tiger Droppings about what I had said about my message to LSU football, and it was about how the culture at LSU between guys coming back and whatnot. And so in my video, and I wanted to address this publicly because people were just being like, Breiden doesn't know nothing. Breiden is, what he's saying right now is just foolish. And I'm like, okay, so what I had said in the video was the first year Brian Kelly got there, when guys technically would come back to work out at LSU in the off season from the months of January up until July, when they were getting ready for training camp at the NFL, they would come and work out with us. The Devon Godshaws, the Arden Keys, the Kendall Beckwith, the Duke Rileys, the Jamal Adams, all these guys would come back, right? That was the standard. When Brian Kelly first got there, he fired Tommy Moffitt, all these good people there. There was, whenever we'd go back, whenever guys wanted to go back and work out, they would go into the weight room and they were excused out. And they said, you had to schedule a time to come in here. You can't be working out when the guys are working out in here. And they did everything new. They wanted a new structure in there, and that was Brian Kelly's word. And that's what I wanted to say. Now, people were saying that, well, there's guys that show up to the games every weekend. Well, that's different. Guys have always been showing up to the game. But how you build a culture with the older guys about coming back, you do that from the months of January up until June and July when they're around the pro guys, when they're around the guys that have put their blood, sweat, and tears. That's what I wanted to address. It wasn't the guys showing up on their bye weeks throughout the NFL years to come and watch the games. It was coming back and grinding and putting your blood, sweat, and tears with the young pups that are going through it right now.
Breiden, we got to go on that note. Great hearing your voice, man. We wish you the best of luck. Best wishes to you and your family.
Appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
Former LSU Tiger, national champion Tiger, Breiden Fehoko will be back after this here on Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
Chevy trucks have you covered when the road takes you from smooth sailing to Chevy Colorado will eat up some of the toughest terrains with 5 available drive modes. And Silverado and Silverado HD have the muscle to take you out for some serious with multiple engine options and impressive towing. While Silverado EV is the perfect combo of performance and capability, making it a snap to hitch up this electric truck and hit the road. Wherever the road leads, Chevy trucks are right there with you. See your Super Chevy dealers today.
Tiger Rag Radio is back on the air, live from Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
All right, it's been a very negative 2 weeks here on Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio. Jeff Palermo, Todd Horne, and Glenn Guilbeau. LSU could really use a win to brighten up the mood, but I mean, it goes all the way back to last week when we had former LSU quarterback Rohan Davey on, and he talked about how there was a lot of disconnection with this team. And then we heard from Mike Scarborough from Tiger Bait earlier about Garrett Nussmeier didn't necessarily put in the work that was necessary in order to help this offense get off to a good start. And then you hear from Breiden Fehoko, and this team's not playing with the heart. There's a divide between the current players and the alumni, not because of the current players, but because of the coaching staff. There's just a lot of, everything was hunky-dory, almost hunky-dory going into the Ole Miss game.
They lost one game on the road to a good team by less than a touchdown.
And they were underdogs in that game.
But, I'll give you this. The LSU football fan base, and I've always thought this, is more negative than most fan bases.
You think?
Because the other schools I've covered, they kind of live in a dream world. Alabama does. Of course, that's a little understandable because they've won more than anyone.
Yeah.
But even when I covered Auburn, they always thought they were much better than they were.
Right.
And so does Tennessee fans.
Yeah.
And even when I was covering Missouri briefly, they were like that too. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You haven't done anything. LSU fans, I mean, they can be more negative than most because I think they're more candid and they're more realistic is what I'm trying to say. Like LSU only has one loss right now, but these are knowledgeable fans and they see how LSU is playing and they're not living in a delusional world. They know that if they keep playing like this, they're going to lose 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, and I think it's
I'll give it to the fans.
And I think that a lot of times they want to believe what their head coach is telling them in the preseason, and I think time and time again, this particular head coach.
Well, Les Miles was even worse.
Same thing.
Les Miles was even worse. There was so many times about how the offense was going to be different, and then you kept seeing a halfback toss over and over again. And it's like nothing's changed. Dude.
I think they're used to that.
But
I think they're tired of this non-physical play.
Well, let me ask you this. I don't know how much college football you guys watched on Saturday. And granted, a lot of the teams were off this week too. But here you saw, there were, what was it, the AP poll that had both Texas and Penn State ranked number 1, 2 in the preseason?
They're both out of the poll. There's a lot of teams that just don't look good. They don't have a real great-looking team right now.
So do you feel – I don't know if the right word. Do you, after watching this past week and seeing all these teams that have, Texas has got the same issues that LSU has. They have a quarterback that's not playing to the level that he needs to play at.
And he looks like he's hurt.
And they have an offensive line that's just garbage, and LSU's offensive line is not very good.
Would you say it's garbage?
I don't think it's very good.
I was just.
I think I was. I don't know. Garbage is a strong word.
But it's good enough for Texas
because it's Texas.
Right,
I wasn't going. I was trying not to be so negative, Todd. But we were bringing up the point that they're ranked number 11. Now, granted, I think going back to your point, Glenn, and even the media season, if this does not change, if this offense does not show some sort of efficiency, some sort of rhythm, some sort of ability to produce big plays, then yes, this team is going 8-4 and 9-3.
Right. Yeah, because last year they were on their way without much of a running game until they went into Texas A&M. But Nussmeier is nowhere near the numbers right now that he was last year. But if the passing game can somehow get turned around, and that's what they were working on in the open week. They have a chance, but I don't think the running game is ever going to be very good at all. It could get a little better, but and I still really like the defense. But the only chance they have to really go on and have a great season and get to the playoffs is if we see a return of the 2024 Garrett Nussmeier.
It'd be nice to see the return of the Caden Durham that we saw in the South Carolina game last year, too.
Yeah, that would help.
I watched Vanderbilt and Alabama, Texas A&M this weekend, and I watched that's it. So I saw those. I don't see them easily beating any of those 3 teams.
Yeah.
So you think those teams are much better than LSU?
I think if they were playing, I think that all 3 of those teams have the advantage of having more balance across all 3 units than LSU does.
I don't know about A&M's offense.
All right,
A&M's offense looked great this weekend.
But their defense is nasty, right? The defense is really good. All right, we'll take a break. Let's get you a scouting report on South Carolina. This is Tiger Rag Radio from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
The hot summer months are in the year view mirror. Let's enjoy fall and have a fun time doing it with your East Baton Rouge Parish Library. The 12th annual Baton Rouge Maker Faire will feature movie magic on October 18th. And go back in time with the library on October 25th with Talking About a Revolution, an all-day patriotic event. Have fun with all of the library's silly, spooky programs for adults, teens, and kids. Visit ebrpl.com for more details.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Good idea. 1-800-673-5555.
I want to be under the bright lights. I want to be on the Broadway stage.
Tiger Rag Radio is on now.
And welcome to Tiger Rag Radio, back here from the Super Chevy Dealers Studio. Jeff Palermo along with the editor for Tiger Rag Magazine. And we bring in our next guest. That is Jordan Kaye from the State in Columbia, South Carolina, as he covers the South Carolina Gamecocks, of course. Jordan, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Oh, it's great to have you on. What do you think of the season so far for South Carolina? Has it been much more underwhelming than you thought it would be?
I think it's been underwhelming for every South Carolina fan. I mean, coming into this year, I was looking at South Carolina's schedule, and it felt like it had to be 5-0 going into the LSU game if it kind of wanted to reach the goals it set for itself. And those goals were really make the college football playoff and win 10 games. And some of those goals might seem crazy for South Carolina, historically, but this was a team last year that finished the regular season with 9 wins, was right on the verge of the college football playoff, and it felt like the next step, especially bringing back LaNorris Sellers, was get to the college football playoff. And, I'm sure a lot of your listeners have seen it, but the next 5 games for the Gamecocks are just brutal. I mean, 5 top 15 teams, just an absolute gauntlet. And it felt like, hey, if they're not 5-0 heading into the LSU game like this, it could get bad. And, they do have a chance to kind of rewrite things in their season, but it's going to be a tough stretch, starting with LSU.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for joining us. This is Glenn Guilbeau. What's the difference with LaNorris Sellers this season at this point than early last season? He was really rolling against LSU until he hurt his ankle in the second quarter.
Yeah, I actually thought, he kind of took a step back almost after that LSU game. He got injured, didn't practice for like a week and a half, I think, because they had a bye, and he didn't really start figuring things out till the end of the year. But this season, it just seemed like he wasn't completely comfortable in the new offense with the new offensive coordinator and Mike Shula. It was just a weird dynamic of like when he was going to run, when he wasn't, and they were saying, we haven't changed the playbook. We're not telling him not to run. But it just seemed like there was none of the aggressiveness, the willingness to run, to break out of the tackles, like the long run he had against LSU last year. We just didn't really see that a ton. And then against Kentucky 2 weeks ago, you really started to see the aggressiveness and the confidence in Sellers' legs. And he's really kind of turned into the guy a lot of people thought. And, he's always going to be a pretty solid passer, a guy who can, throw a pretty solid deep ball. He does miss on a couple throws every game, but, he's kind of like Garrett Nussmeier, where it seems like their completion percentage is going to always hover right around, 70%. But the Kentucky game, it seemed like he figured out a lot of the running stuff that was hampering South Carolina the first 4 games.
What's been let's turn it over to Andre. Andre's got a question for you.
Hey, Jordan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Can you talk about this South Carolina, maybe offensive line? I know that they've struggled throughout the season. I think I saw something that they're kind of at the bottom front of allowing sacks on the season with 15.
119th in the country, right?
Yeah. It's been a weird group because they brought back both their returning starting tackles and then brought in this kid from Troy who they were hyping up the entire offseason, say, this is our starting center, this guy's fantastic, blah, 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 blah. And then they go into the first game, and the offensive line is just getting steamrolled over. And since then, it's like they've just kept switching guys and changing positions and doing this, benching guys. And then, there were a couple injuries that changed things up. So I'm not exactly sure what type of who's going to show up for South Carolina's offensive line this week. They were a lot better against Kentucky, so I'm assuming they're going to stick with the majority of that group. But yeah, I mean, it's completely like up in the air. There are some games where they just look, completely lost. Just, how much, we saw it with LSU last year. Like when the offensive line is 5-1 and really understands each other, like it works in harmony. And there was just no harmony for the first couple of games. And I mean, not just the sack, it's really impacted the rushing game. They had -9 yards against Missouri. So you're seeing it kind of all over.
Jordan, do you sense any confidence in the South Carolina defense or from the coaching staff going up against an LSU team that has really struggled to run the ball, and their quarterback is, whether he's hurt or not, there seems to be some mystery. He's definitely not throwing the ball like he did last year as accurately at times, and he's about and his numbers are way off from this point last year.
I mean, Shane Beamer today was very complimentary, of course, of Garrett Nussmeier and the whole LSU offense and all that. He was like, "Hey, I saw LSU's offensive line last year, and they're clearly not there this season, and that's maybe that's why he thought Nussmeier maybe was struggling a little bit and the injury. But man, if I'm South Carolina's defense right now, I mean, you got a guy like Dylan Stewart coming off the edge, and I know it wasn't his best game last year. Will Campbell just kind of shut him down. I imagine he wants to get revenge, and this is a LSU offense who doesn't seem like they've shown much this season. So I think South Carolina's probably got to be feeling pretty confident that they can at least get to Nussmeier. And, South Carolina's been really good at, causing turnovers this year, getting interceptions. Even in losses, they've won the turnover battle. So I think they can kind of go into this feeling pretty confident of like, hey, we have a chance here to stop these guys.
Jordan, what was it in the Missouri game that just really – obviously Missouri ran the ball all over South Carolina. Was that just mainly Missouri's that good when it comes to running the football, or is there a big deficiency there when it comes to defending the run?
I think we're still trying to figure out the same thing. I mean, that was one of the most – either Ahmad Hardy is like a Heisman contender or there's some big problems. And, I mean, South Carolina did not tackle well in that game. And that was something they kind of was a bugaboo in the Vanderbilt game earlier in the year, too. So, I mean, this is a team that has shown, hasn't been the greatest at tackling. They fixed that against Kentucky, but a lot of people fixed that against Kentucky. I think it was probably a little bit of both. I mean, Ahmad Hardy was just bowling over most of South Carolina's defenders. So I think their running backs were extremely tough to tackle, and I think just South Carolina just had a really, really bad day.
South Carolina has not played in Baton Rouge since 2020. What kind of trip is this for the South Carolina fan base, and is this a unique game in their mind?
I'm curious to kind of see it myself. I mean, I've heard a decent number of people who are going, kind of making a trip out of it. Hey, go to New Orleans, Thursday or Friday night and then stay, especially with Gamecocks Spencer Rattler leading the Saints and the Saints game on Sunday.
And he's 1-0. 1-0 Spencer Rattler, baby.
I was trying to get over there if they put the game at 1 o'clock or noon or whatever it is, but it's like a late game, so that stinks. So I think there's a decent amount of people going, but I haven't heard last year, the Oklahoma game, it just felt like every South Carolina fan was going because it was just the newness of it. This one, I'm not 100% sure. I'm kind of curious myself of, hey, did people book this 6 months ago thinking this is going to be a top 10 matchup, or did they were they kind of waiting to see if South Carolina, kind of was 5-0.
Jordan, we'll get you out on this. What do the Gamecocks need to do to get a win?
I mean, they need to get their run game going. Like that's kind of the thing of if this offense can run the ball, I think there's a good chance. I feel pretty good about South Carolina's defense being able to kind of limit LSU's offense. I think the pass rush is going to be able to get there. I have a feeling they're going to, force a couple turnovers. But if South Carolina can't get the run game going, I mean, this is one of those spots where it could just be a real low-scoring game, and at that point, it's kind of a coin flip. And you don't want to be South Carolina hoping for a coin flip in Death Valley. So if South Carolina can run the ball, kind of control the clock, I think they can get out of there with a win. But that's kind of a tall task.
First team to get 75 yards rushing is going to win the game.
I was thinking 60. I was thinking 60.
That's it. 60 yards rushing. That's your winner.
I might steal that. That's great. Yeah, first to 60 win.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. Are you coming in for the game?
Yeah, yep. Coming in Thursday to New Orleans and then driving up Saturday morning to Baton Rouge.
All right, man.
That's the way to do it.
Excited. I'll see you guys there.
All right, sounds great. Jordan Kaye from the State, which of course is the big paper there in South Carolina. Can we call it still? Do we still call it a paper?
Yeah, it's a great paper.
It is a great paper, but do we still use the? Nobody ever uses the word paper.
They're still published as a newspaper, just like the Advocate.
Good.
It's a paper, baby.
We'll be back after this from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
Now, back to Tiger Rag Radio, live from Super Chevy Dealers Studio.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio, Jeff Palermo along with the editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Glenn Guilbeau, Andre Champagne, our producer tonight. What kind of role, and we could get Andre into this one as well. Curious Kern, where do you think he's playing on Saturday night?
First of all, we got to say that we got to wish Todd, hope he feels better. He was talking too much about LSU football, and he just got a little sick to his stomach, and he had to be excused. So we hope the best for Todd.
Yeah,
and for LSU.
Yeah, this was Todd Horne's flu show.
Yes, it was. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, Andre, where do you're the Curious Kern expert. Where is he playing on Saturday?
So Brian you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Brian Kelly claims that he'll be ready to go at both guard and right tackle. From what I understand is if Dylan Stewart matches up against Weston Davis, it might be a short outing for Mr. Weston Davis. But if he doesn't struggle, I really liked how Curious Kern blocked in pass pro against Ole Miss, but I don't really see him fitting as a guard right now. Right, I think Cohen Eccles has done a pretty good job. Granted,
but if Mabanga doesn't play, wouldn't he?
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Is Eccles is probably going to be at left guard right now. Now, if Mubinga is playing hurt, we could obviously see Curious Kern at some other spot. But
don't you think Kern has a chance of starting at right tackle?
I think so.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know about this week. I mean, it sounded like Brian Kelly wanted.
He didn't say Weston was going to start.
He didn't say he wouldn't start though. So I mean, he's been very defensive with Mr. Weston Davis.
Yeah, he has been. Even though the Pro Football Focus grades really ding Weston Davis.
You don't even have to look at the PFF grades. I mean, you just need to watch them.
But Kelly was real complimentary of Kern's physical play.
At
Ole Miss.
Kern looked good.
He's a freshman. His head was on a swivel and it was swimming at the same time. But the intensity we heard
playing like Fehoko wants you to play.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We heard it from and I know there's been others that I've heard from former LSU Tigers that have kind of also indicated that the intensity. We heard it from Derry Beckwith early on where he said, I think we had him on after the Clemson game where he said, when you're an offensive lineman, there's a want to about it. You want to go out there and be nasty against that guy that you're going up against, and he didn't see it, and that was early on in the season. So this is not something. This has been a kind of a common. It's almost like there's not a mean streak with these guys.
I will say that Curious Kern, you have to learn somehow. You have to make those mistakes.
Yeah,
he's a freshman, right?
For sure.
And going on the road playing against, I would say Ole Miss has some talented pass rushers as well on the edge. That's not easy to do by any means. I honestly think he did well in pass protection. He had a few pancakes actually.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because he has the lowest run block. But the thing is they wouldn't have been able to run the ball whether he could block or not.
Well,
they don't run the ball to the outside.
I think that was what I was trying to say. If I didn't get my point out clearly, is even though he was making mistakes, at least the guy was playing at a level of intensity that the other four were not.
Right.
And you'll accept that. You understand the guy's going to make mistakes. There was the one, I can't remember exactly what ended up. I just remember his reaction where the guy the Ole Miss defender came around the edge and he blew right past him and immediately put his hands on his helmet, Carius Kern, knowing that he screwed up. And that's fine. Okay. But the guy was going out there and he was looking to dominate his opponent, and you're not really seeing that from the other four guys on the line. So it's a mess, but we'll see. We'll see if the bye week provided some sort of healing touch, some sort of improving touch. We got one more segment to do here to wrap up Tiger Rag Radio, so stay tuned as we continue on here from the Super Chevy Dealer Studio.
How you doing? This is Snoop Dogg.
Tiger Rag Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are tuned in.
Talk LSU sports, interviews, opinions, and your calls around the Tiger Nation.
Baton Rouge was a life for me, home of the LSU Tigers.
Now more Tiger Rag Radio.
We love to score and get highlights and championships and play to win.
Tiger Rag Radio.
All right, final segment of the show. Jeff Palermo along with the editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Glenn Guilbeau, and Andre Champagne with us. Let's go over the schedule. This is a very juicy schedule this week, unlike it's amazing the weeks you think like nothing's going to happen in college football, yet Penn State, and I'm so glad Penn State lost.
UCLA came out of nowhere.
But when you try to scheme the system like they do by playing 4 powder puff teams in a non-conference to give yourself the better chance, you get what you deserve, and they got it. And I'm so glad that they lost. And I just don't. I think that's not the spirit of what most teams are playing a good
you have 1 or 2 rental wins, not 4.
Yeah, what they do is ridiculous, and so karma. That's what it is. But
and how about Billy Napier? He refuses to die. The coach who won't go away.
And as much in Texas, we hit on it earlier. Just the problems that they got going on right now, and. Arch Manning, what do you think of what he's been so far this season?
He's been disappointing, but I disagree with The Athletic. They're calling him like one of the biggest flops in college football history. I mean, it's a little early for that, and I think The Athletic and other media outlets are guilty of expecting too much of him because of his last name.
Yeah,
now, but he has been a disappointment. He has, but. And he might not ever be as great as his publicity, but it's too early.
I think it's too early, too. I'm not ready to give up on the kid. He obviously probably needs another year. Those that thought he'd be a one-year starter and then move on to the NFL, I think he obviously needs another year. And
shoot, he might need a third year.
Let's look at we've alluded to it ourselves many times. Look at Joe Burrow's first year starting. Look at Jayden Daniels' first year starting at LSU. It wasn't. There were a lot of rough spots in there. So.
Right. Not quite like this, but you're right. And he came in with so many expectations.
Yeah.
But a lot of people saw that Florida win coming. I heard that was a popular upset special.
Okay.
Because it was kind of a dangerous game for Texas. But go over this week's schedule.
Well, Florida at Texas A&M. Well, we're almost out of time here. Florida at Texas A&M. What do you think? The Gators do it 2 weeks in a row?
I don't think so. I think the Aggies will take that game.
Georgia goes to Auburn?
Georgia.
Yeah.
Easy.
Oklahoma and Texas.
Watch Texas come back and win that game.
Yeah.
Because I think Oklahoma's kind of overrated. Watch Texas come back and win that game.
Alabama, Missouri at 11 a.m. How about that game for 11?
Take Missouri.
Yeah, I like how Missouri's playing too.
I think Alabama's going to be feeling a little too good about themselves, and the fighting journalists from Columbia Mo are going to come back.
What do you think of that game, Andre?
I've got Alabama. Come on, guys. But I do think Missouri's going to run the ball well.
Yeah. Eli Drinkwitz is going to be one of the hottest coaches in the country at the end of this season for a new job.
He might be. LSU, South Carolina.
I think LSU's going to win big. I do. I think they're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay. The point spread's 9.5. It's come down a little bit. I think the Tigers win, too. I don't know if it's going to be a pretty win, but I like LSU to win. What about you, Andre?
I think LSU covers.
Okay. All right.
I was a little surprised by that point spread.
I have my reasons, too, as well.
Why? You think it's too low?
Well, no, I thought the point spread was a little high. LSU to be a 9.5 or 10-point favorite.
I don't know. This South Carolina offense is really bad.
Yeah. But I just don't trust them. Until I see them really stop a dual-threat quarterback, I don't know if I'm gonna believe it until I see it. That's Mike. I can see Sellers having a big play. All right, let's wrap it up. Andre Champagne, Glenn Guilbeau for the ill Todd Horne. I'm Jeff Palermo. For the latest in LSU sports, check out TigerRag.com.
Tiger Rag is everywhere. Online at TigerRag.com. Like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/TigerRag Magazine. Or follow us on Twitter at Tiger_Rag.